guys, welcome to the OCD Recovery channel on Real Talk once more. We are three sad lads today because nobody else was able to join us.
Nobody
Um,
likes that.
yeah, but I mean, hey, we're still here. We still want to talk about some important things with the recovery. I think one of the things, especially the post holiday season, with the new year, everyone is thinking about how do I prioritize recovery? How can this year be a better year for me? What can I do to be in a place that by next Christmas or by next New Year, I am in a good, better place, right? And often like one of the most confusing parts for people is where do I start? There are so many different components to the recovery journey. There are exposures, there's the reading list, there are disputing, changing your beliefs, like changing life structure, cutting out compulsions, avoidance, not looking for reassurance, and it can like when there's so many different components, it becomes kind of overwhelming. So to be like, oh, where do I even start from? Is there like a starting point? Is there a designated starting point? Is there a sequence of things that I need to do? So we thought it would be a good idea to have a look at that. Sam, let's randomly start with you because Nick I keep talking to. So, uh, um, so like, what would you say for you personally? Because I think sometimes people kind of change things. Like for some people, they're like, oh, I'll do exposures. Who needs to read the book list, right? But then for other people, it's like, oh no, I'll read the books first and then do the exposure. So people also like kind of do their own version of it as well sometimes. So where would you say it started for you?
The main thing would be getting out there, so cutting out avoidance. I mean, if you're not working, getting back to work. I was always working, luckily, but if I stop that, I'd make sure we're getting back to work, exercising. So just
Yeah.
really focus on the life structure, because when you're first struggling with OCD
Mm.
and you say, "Oh, work on your beliefs," that can seem quite daunting at first. So I think
Mm-hmm.
the main thing is just bringing it for the ride, just that initial bit, working on your life structure, working on healthy routines, and then start working on your recovery. So you're reading, well, life structure is recovery, but well, working on your recovery. But then you look at the reading list, then you're looking at exposures, breaking down your beliefs. But that was really the main first bit for me. Getting back out there, stop putting everything off, go out and enjoy life with your friends, no matter how you feel. Bring it for the ride. Don't avoid it because you feel terrible. Don't avoid it because you're feeling anxious or chronic guilt. That is the main thing for me.
And was there like any resistance factor for you when you were like, oh, I need to read the books? Was there like, who needs to read a book? I mean, what will a book do? Or any of those kind of doubts and skepticism?
Yeah, because I'll be so locked up in a guilt cycle or
Yeah,
anxious cycle. The last thing I wanted to do was read a book. I didn't feel like I had the ability to concentrate to read a book.
nice way to
And
put it. Yeah, yeah,
that's what helped me build the frustration tolerance, because you just want a quick fix, you want that quick relief.
yeah.
So reading a book is, oh my god, that's going to take time, that's going to take practice, persistence. So that's the last thing I wanted to do. But then when I really push myself to do that, then you start seeing the results. But yeah, that initial thing of go and read a book, you're like, how can that work? I'm so used to doing compulsions. But then it comes gradual process of
Yeah.
changing your beliefs, breaking it down,
And that's
and
that's a
applying
very
to what you
important
learn.
thing you've put there. I feel like sometimes reading the book in itself becomes a bit of an exposure in a way because like
Definitely,
reading
yeah,
a book requires
definitely.
so much patience and so much like concentration sitting in one place trying to like
Yeah,
not rush through something. And like anxiety is essentially us trying to constantly solve go hop from one aim to another and just
yeah,
like being all over the place. So it's like I have to sit in one place and just look at the same thing.
yeah.
It seems like
And
it seems silly, but it seems daunting.
yeah, and then whenever I had like a real event locked on, I'd just be like so focused on that. I was like, how can reading this book change that? But not
Exactly.
realizing you don't just read a book and it's all gone. That's not how it works.
Exactly,
You're reading
because
it
it
and
happened. It's a
gradually,
real event.
grad,
So, what will a
yeah,
book do?
exactly. You'll be
So,
ruminating about it fast. You're thinking, no, I can't concentrate on this book.
exactly, Nick. What would you say was your I mean, I'm sure there were certain things presented to you that, oh, this is the first thing, or this is the first thing, or like this is what needs to be done. For you personally, what was the first step that you took, or what you felt was the easier thing to do as a first step?
So I think because I was about to graduate a doctoral program and I had had 8 years into school after high school, basically, my ability to read was not affected at all because I had to read, like
Yeah.
always reading. So the mistake I made was I read all 5 books in a month. I mean, I
Hmm.
remember Rob being like, whoa, like when I think I read the first book between our first and second call, like donezo, completely done. And
Wow.
then he said to me, okay, you need to not, like, you have to slow down. And then I read the other 4 books in 3 weeks. I just ordered all 5 at once because Marcus Aurelius's Meditations wasn't on the reading list at that time. It was just the first 5. So I just read this quote, and I think this is very applicable. And there's 2 parts. So it is the hardest thing in life is to be happy with where you are, but in pursuit of what you want. To be happy where you are in pursuit of what you want.
Yeah.
Because OCD sufferers are not happy where they are. And if they don't pursue what they want or they don't get what they pursue, they're like, my life is miserable. I
Yeah.
have to get to OCD recovery. I read this quote. I just had 3 1-to-1s in a row. I read it to every single person. And then we broke that down, which I thought was important. Sam, you nailed something very important that Moment and I speak about a lot in calls. I always use this example. If you're walking down the street, if Moment and I are walking down the street and someone pushes Moment, and in that moment, I turn around and punch the person who pushed Moment, because I love Moment. And if I punch that person,
Hmm.
that instilled a belief, right? That behavior instilled a belief. So I have to ask myself, what do I have direct control over in my life to like a degree? The behaviors I do, I have to bring them down immediately, as quickly and efficiently, knowing I'm going to fail multiple times, fall off, get back up. But like looking in the mirror and just saying to yourself, I'm not afraid of being stuck with OCD for the rest of your life, your brain will not believe that. There's no way. And it takes
No.
a very long
Yeah.
time for you to go. You basically almost have to be physically uncomfortable for like a couple years to go, you know what? I've been like this for a while. I've made tremendous progress. There is fear of fear still present, but can I really accept this for the rest of my life? And that's where you chip away. But in the
Hmm.
beginning, you nailed the work one, Sam. That's what Moment and I mean, I see this one a lot. People say to me, I haven't worked in 4 years. And I tell them it is going to be very difficult for you to recover without having some sort of like purposeful structure, not universal purpose, but the purpose that you give to yourself. Like, I
Yeah.
have a desired purpose to help change OCD awareness for the remainder of my life. That doesn't need to be my purpose forever. One day that might change. And that's not a universal purpose. Like, people can recover from OCD and say, I don't want to help anyone. That's fine. It's whatever you want to do. But that has given me the ability to push forward and do the things I want to do, like make 20 plus YouTube videos a month, make 50 to 100 Facebook posts and Instagram posts a month, 100 TikToks. Like that goal that I have is not perpetuated off of a feeling. Like there's
Yeah.
times when I get home and I'm like, I really do not want to make a YouTube video right
I know,
now.
like
And I'm
the feeling is often used as a prerequisite for so many things. That if I'm feeling okay, only then will I go out and socialize, or only then will I apply for a job. Or sometimes people are like, I'm doing everything, but I'm still not feeling great. Why am I not feeling great? I should be feeling okay, even though I'm living life. So I mean, there is that kind of confusion of like, then might as well just give up like doing the work because clearly it's not working. So why am I pushing myself? So then people can be like, oh, just stay in bed and not do anything at all. And I think that's like I probably like for me that was the hardest part. The more physical and behavior based aspects of things because um like for me it was again I have always loved books and I've generally been someone who's been very good at words and writing and thinking and analyzing, evaluating, all that kind of stuff comes very
You are
easy
really good at
to
that.
me.
That is moment. You are naturally very good at that. You are.
Yeah, so I mean, so it was like, oh, books, analyzing, let's do this. But exposures, nah, who wants to do that? And I like absolutely ran from exposures like the plague, um and changing behaviors, putting things into behavioral practice is where it got tricky. For me, the books came first for sure, because it was like, okay, let's build the foundational knowledge for acceptance, for looking at what self-esteem means, what looking at how my nerves function, how my panic cycle functions, how functions, how am I trying to solve anxiety. Let's deal with those aspects on a theoretical level in a way, right? And then I thought, okay, when I do that, I'll start feeling okay, and then I'll do the exposures. Then I'll change my behaviors. Then I'll do the action-based uncomfortable things. But clearly, and so I think this is something very important to highlight over here. Any OCD sufferer that comes in, and let's say each of them were given a standard, plan, right? That you read the first book first, and then do 5 exposures, then read like the second book, and then do 10 exposures. I mean, there can be like hypothetically, a standard set of things can be given to anybody, right? That, oh, follow this order of things. At the end of the day, the OCD sufferer will still do what they want to do. They will follow the plan that they want to follow. They will
So
not
true.
they will not follow like the thing that, because they will always go towards the thing that comes naturally or comes easier to them. Like I said, Sam, for you, it was living your life. For Nick and me, it was reading the books. And it really, really is different for every single person, because and every single person just kind of caters the plan to themselves and sees that, oh, how do I go along this?
I think it's a real moment. You said something I loved. And this is interesting too. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions on this. In the beginning, like let's say you watch this and you say to yourself, I want to come in and I want to try coaching with whoever it is. And you've tried a bunch of stuff. Maybe you've done a lot of meditation, mindfulness. Maybe you've done a lot of exposure work, but you're like, I really don't understand what my beliefs are. There is a structure that is more important in the beginning. And then when you get years down the road, there's no planned exposures. Life will give you exposures. There's no need for that. You come to a point, like I just got off a call with a girl a couple hours ago who, read the books, and she said, like, I don't know if I need any more exposures. And I said, no, I don't think you do either. Now it's just about like, it's like you have a wall in front of you and a little tiny axe. And it's like every day you're picking away at this little belief system that you have. But in the beginning, it is like you said, Sam, right? What are the 5 questions? Are you reading the books? Are you going to work? Are you exercising? Are you eating food? I mean, we get people that are like, yeah, I'm so anxious, I eat like once a day, or do you cook your own? Do you take a shower? I mean, I was like, my hygiene went to total crap. I mean, I remember just the thought, you guys, I don't know for you, Moment, with the contamination, but I know for me, like, I would look at my toothbrush and be like, I do not have the energy to brush my teeth. Like, that is a crazy concept to think about. Like, I have to get the mail? Are you kidding me? The mail was like 7 feet from my door.
I know,
like,
I mean, same. Like, so and this sounds disgusting, even though I am like a hygiene person, by the way. In my first office, I used to be the person who would give the interns a hygiene talk, because they were summer interns, they were students, they would come in not wearing deodorant, sweating, completely like smelling the place up. And it just, so on the first day, I would be like, listen, nobody else will say this because they're uncomfortable, but I will say this. Please wear deodorant, because we don't want a stinky office, right? And I would be very upfront about that. But for me, I remember there were, especially during COVID, I would say, because there was an overlap of COVID and me just not having the best life structure, and stuff like that. And because I was I was doing my master's during COVID, so obviously I didn't have to get dressed up and go to uni. I just had to like be in my PJs and just attend classes. So I remember like entire days would go, not like a stretch of days, but what I mean is like an entire 24 hours would pass by and I hadn't brushed my teeth. And it would just be like, what am I doing to myself? Like, what is this? Because it was such an effort for me. So one of
Yes.
my fear things was fear of also being exhausted, fear of being tired, fear of feeling tired, fear of being mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted, and then automatically physically exhausted. And so I would avoid activities where I felt like I had to exert myself. And it wasn't even just big activities or energy draining activities. It was something as small as I need to brush my teeth. And it felt like, oh my God, so much effort. I just have to stand over the sink and like just do this for like 5, 10 minutes. Who wants to do that?
It's
Yeah.
so crazy, Moment, how accurate that statement is. I think that so many sufferers can relate with. You're like something as simple as like pouring a glass of water can feel like monumental when you're just like stuck in chronic anxiety. I have,
100%.
I have a question for you, Sam. Today, where you are, what do you think has been so important, like in your daily structure now? What are like habits that you keep up with that you think, like for me, right? Reading, right? I just started this book. I'm always reading. I take care of my physical health. I go to the gym. I make sure I ask Erica how her day is, like, how's her day? I keep up these particular things that I think are not easy to do when the daily mundane life goes by. So, like, what would you say, Sam, are things that are really important in your life like that?
So you did a post recently, Nick, about getting out of bed as soon as your alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Now that sounds quite subtle, but that's a big thing because I used to lie until the last very second. So I get up sooner straight away, get up, face the day, and actively working on recovery throughout the day. So not putting anything off, not avoiding certain things, not falling back into compulsions. Like I said before this video, I'm going on holiday next week. So not just letting the compulsions creep back in with the fear of fear, or dropping that internal thermometer of measuring how I'm feeling all the time. So, because when you get to a stage where you're doing really well and you're really enjoying life and you're loving life and you're measuring that, am I enjoying it as much as I should? Can I feel a bit slightly more anxious? So, dropping that thermometer, just like Jay says, willing to let it in. So, the internal willing, just allow to feel whatever you feel. Um, yeah, not putting off invites because you might not be feeling too great. Exercising, do a lot of exercise. And like I said at the start of this video, healthy life structure, maintaining that. But yeah, the main thing is actively working on it. So not in sitting down and disputing all day long, but just not putting anything off, working on my beliefs, or maybe have a difficult conversation with someone at work and just practicing my beliefs with there. So I might not agree with them, but I can see how I'm changing my beliefs to, accepting them, unconditionally accepting them, other people in life, so they got different perspectives.
Yeah.
Just gradually putting it into practice in day-to-day life.
You nailed something too, like that moment that I speak about, I think a lot is like, I tell people you have a toolbox, and inside that toolbox is all the different recovery tools that you have. Like you said, Moment, exposures, avoidance, like all that stuff. Disputing beliefs on paper is like a very, especially if you look at like a time ratio per like a 24-hour day, it is a very small amount of like active time that you're doing. And then, that's why more often than not, I give a lot of people, I don't even know if I'd like to call them exposure, but let's say I'm talking to them every 2 weeks. In that time, I say, these next 2 weeks, I want you no disputing. I want you to just work on your behaviors, right, Sam? And Moment, you work on your behaviors and chip away on like these daily things. I know a big one for me. This was crazy what you said, Sam. And Moment, you'll be surprised by this, but maybe not. Erica used to call me on this. She's like, some things you are really good, but it wasn't actually constructive confrontation. It was just me yelling because that's what I was comfortable with. But if I had to like sit down and have a conversation with someone to receive constructive criticism, I like avoided that like the plague. I hated that because I'm like, oh man, like this is making me feel very uncomfortable. And I needed to really go towards that. Like you said, Sam, that's about anything. It could be money, politics, religion,
Yeah.
the weather, like anything it could be. And those are the daily things that make the most difference.
So, sorry, Sam, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're suffering from POCD, and let's say you get invited around someone's house or someone's party, I'm not putting it off. I mean, you don't have to go and ask for a party, but if you get invited, just saying, yes, I'll come along, not putting off day-to-day life, actively working on your recovery. That's a vital thing. Sorry, Mem, carry on.
Yeah, no. So I just wanted to do like, because people might walk away from this video and be like, okay, but what are the tools? You never talked about them. So I thought we would let's do this fun exercise. So there's that toolbox that Nick mentioned of the recovery tools, right? Let's open that toolbox and maybe we can go around one by one and name what we think we'll find in there, right? So I'll name one item, Nick, you name one item, Sam, you do one, and
I
then
like that.
I
That's
can do
cool.
that
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
and then we can see what we come up with, right?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'll start off with, like, for me, which was the most obvious starting point, was the books on the reading list. Nick.
Ooh, man. I would say going back to work. That was so important for me. Going back to work. Sam?
Bringing it for the ride, wearing it like an uncomfortable coat, like we say many times on this channel. Crucial thing. Not putting
Okay.
things off.
Exposures.
That's a great one. I have another good one we haven't talked about. Cutting down on social media compulsions, specifically social media compulsions.
Sam?
Addictions such as you might be drinking more, or adult websites for a quick relief, or something pleasurable for an escape.
Or like even sleeping, by the way. Sleeping ridiculously as well.
Yeah, it's an escape, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Coffee, right, Nick? Okay. Cutting out reassurance.
Okay, so you'll say cutting out reassurance. Let's say you asking it, and I'll put a part 2 on that. Cutting out self-reassurance that no one can see. Reassuring in your own head. I'm going to be okay. Yeah.
Sam?
Sam?
Confession.
Yeah.
Googling.
Yeah.
So constant confessing to your coach, to your partner, to your friends, getting that quick relief off your chest that you need to let it all out. That's a confession.
So I will say life structure, and we've done a ton of videos what we mean by life structure, so you can watch those if you want like further explanation on that. But just as a very small explanation, it doesn't mean a very strict kind of scheduled routine. It just means keeping up with the things that need to be done in your daily life.
Chores. Yeah.
Chores, driving, grocery shopping, dropping kids off to school, hanging out with friends, meeting family, dating, having sex, all that kind of stuff. Exercise, if you can, ideally. That. Nick?
One that I know so well in moments, unfortunately, got the brunt end of in the past couple of years, is really working on your anger creating beliefs. That is very important. Anger only affects, it is a no-go. It's just, your life will be much more peaceful when you learn how to sit with anger and actually feel it.
Adopting unconditional acceptance, self, life, and other, especially with guilt-related themes, is absolutely crucial.
Part 2, I would say for that is disputing out on paper through writing. Not even on the phone, because we're typing all day on our phones and laptops. It's a good exercise of frustration tolerance to also write it out, because as humans, we have lost the habit of writing things out on paper.
Absolutely. This is going to sound really weird, and some people are like, because it's almost natural, but working on bringing down, there's no easy way to say this, working on bringing down the amount that you're crying, the self-pity about your fears, because that is an understandable. I cried many times in my bed alone, but I realized that this isn't helping me, and I have to stop the self-pity. I have to work on the victimhood. We all do it. but I think that was a very important one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Have we said exercising?
Not directly, but that's a good one. Yeah.
Exercising. I mean, that sounds quite vague, but just getting out there, going for a run, going for a swim, just getting out there, and because you feel quite good after it. But you might, the last thing you want to do is probably go for a run or go for a cycle if you're suffering. Taking that step and getting out there.
Love it.
I would say watch a bunch of different kinds of documentaries, because documentaries open up your knowledge, mind, perspectives in a way that like other things don't. And they give you access to like information and topics that you otherwise wouldn't get in your daily life. So watch documentaries.
And to tag on to that, because I am one of those people that loves that, if you go on Vice documentaries on YouTube, and
I love Vice and Vox as well, by the way. I love Vox and Vice.
Yes,
absolutely.
If you go into the playlist section for Vice, there's a section called Informant. There's about 9 videos where I watched like 5 of them the other day, and you start to realize, you say to yourself, oh boy, I'd much rather have anxiety chronically for the rest of my life than have to deal with some of those situations, because it is brutal. So, but I think on top of that, and the last one that I can probably think of is decreasing compulsive note-taking and structure in that regard, where you take it so far to the other direction. Like I have one sticky note here now that I make videos, cross it out, and I have to redo it. If you guys would have seen my desk it was like sticky notes and like things all over the wall of like, oh, I can't forget that. I have to remember that. So I think compulsive note-taking, I mean, Moment and I can hear it. We'll be talking to someone on the call and it'll be dead silent. You could like hear them.
And they're repeating your words like, okay, change life structure.
So true.
Just on that, now you've said that, my first session with Rob, I asked to record the session because I wanted to go back and replay everything Rob said, replay everything I said, just to make sure I didn't forget.
How about the webinar, Sam? The webinars, I see. How many times Moment and I have to, because I have the power to turn it off.
Yeah.
But you'll just see this. It will go, recording started. Yeah. And because they're so afraid of missing
information. I would say all embracing uncertainty, not chasing information certainty by Googling or asking for reassurance. No, I'm just curious to know this. No, I'm just want to know that. I want to Google this. I want to do that. Sit with uncertainty. It is going to take you miles ahead in life.
Absolutely.
I got one more. Last one I can probably think of. Not fearing setbacks and relapses.
Oh, that's a good one. How did we miss that one? That's such a good one.
Because that can just boom out of nowhere. Oh, I don't want to feel like that again. So that's biggest one.
And I'm gonna end this one with mine because we have a couple minutes left. I think this is what I have to speak about the most in calls. Leaning into confusion. There is no line in the sand.
And feeling lost.
Am I in the right relationship? Am I not? Is it too much recovery work? Is it not? Am I going back now? Is it so getting used to that, like you could be making the wrong decision.
And so this is the toolbox with all these different things, and there's no chronology to it. So here's an exposure for people watching. This is the confusing part. Where do I start? Just start somewhere. Honestly, just start anywhere that you can. Whether it's the books, whether it's cutting out avoidance or compulsion or reassurance or watching documentaries, opening up your perspectives, start somewhere. Even if you start small, take a step.
Yeah, if you don't have an overnight job, like if you have a typical like 9 to 5 and you're sleeping till like 2 p.m. in the afternoon on weekends, no, like you got to get up out of bed. Your life's going to go by you. So great talk, guys. That was a good exercise moment. That was awesome.
With bad hair day, I was just constantly flipping my hair. By the way, all 3 of us are wearing gray, so I think this call was meant to be just between the 3 of us. So anyway, guys, this was a good call, and we'll do another topic very soon. Let us know if you want to hear about any topic, and we'll include that. Before this ends, let's say goodbye, and I have a call to jump to.
Guys, always a pleasure.
Okay, bye.
See ya. Peace, guys. Later.